Good morning and happy Imbolc. This is Wormwood Crow. I know a lot of you celebrated Imbolc kind of on the new popularized day yesterday, which was good because it was a Sunday, so that makes it really convenient. I celebrate the cross quarters on when the sun becomes 15 degrees, a particular astrological sign. So, but this year they fell within a day of one another. Usually they're about a week apart. So while most people are celebrating Halloween on the 31st, it's about the 7th, that 6th or 7th that I'm celebrating Samhain. So and kind of the same thing with Imbolc, but this year it's just a day apart. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, it's a pretty nice day. Yesterday it rained, so it was a little chilly this morning, but not too bad. As you can see, it is a really nice and sunny day today, and might be a little chilly, but it's okay. And decided to have an outdoor ritual. So the only things I brought with me were my chalice and blade. These are two pretty basic tools for me, but kind of really important in their simplicity, but in their all-encompassing nature as well, because it has a lot to do with the way I view the forces in the universe, and essentially the concepts of the Lord or Lady, God and Goddess. Last month there were a few videos concerning how members of the pagan community viewed the God and Goddess, whatever it might be for them, whether they were, a soft polytheist or believed in actual deities or whatever it might be. And the Sabbats, for me, the real time where the God and Goddess become the most personified, and that's because I pretty much embrace the notion or the mythos behind the Wheel of the Year, where at Yule you have the mother and son, or the universal parent and universal child. And then at Imbolc, it's the girl and boy, and Ostari, you've got the maiden and the youth, and at Beltane you've got, well, at Beltane I refer to them very tongue-in-cheek as the fox and the hound, because of all the sexual energy related to the holiday. But Lord and Lady and Lord in Letha, the old woman and the still man, come Lunasa, and then the last two holidays become a little more abstract because you're dealing with one divinity who's essentially still alive and the other one who's kind of tromping around in the underworld. But you kind of see a progression of aging, like temporal aging, and also different dynamics between the male and female forces represented in the Wheel of the Year mythos. So it's at those times that I embrace a god and goddess with a face. But generally speaking, I don't use that in practical magical working, because I am a pantheist, or at least the bulk of me is a pantheist, because I do have a shrine to divinities, to a pair actually, and at some point I suppose I'll show you guys, but the shrine is separate from my altar. It's a place where I can go and worship or meditate or find inspiration or draw some level of consolation, but it's not necessarily a place to induce help for magical workings, versus my altar, where I'm now drawing forces, energies and whatever to actually bring around change. But I still represent on my altar a duality, and as a pantheist, everything in the universe is one for me. But you really start appreciating that when you start bearing witness to differentiation. So, and you need at least two elements to do that. So the Lord and Lady, God, Goddess, are one version of being able to see, at least a duality in the universe and appreciating one by contrasting it to the other. So it can be, as simple as comparing, girl to boy, or the alchemical water to fire, represented with these two tools. Expansion represented by the sword, and contraction represented by the chalice. The romanticized notion of good versus evil, light versus dark, even something like ones and zeros. I mean, you really need at least two to be able to start, seeing these things and being able to define them and appreciating their individual qualities. And it really all comes down to on my altar, when I'm working with these forces, recognizing what I've kind of come to recognize as the two most basic directions that energy travels in, and that is expansion and contraction. So, like a sword will expand energies. It will cut through things. It will separate them. When the body finally dies, it decomposes, which is a expansion, separation of all of its parts. The possibility of the soul separates from the body, and then all the different elements of the body break down. Versus the chalice, which takes something as literally fluid and chaotic as water and gives it form and function by putting it within a mold. It's the same as when a sperm and an egg come together, and that they contract together to create something. So those are the two forces that are represented on my altar, and I can do that in a variety of different ways. Again, it could be usually represented by candles, because I find colors to be super useful to represent abstractions like that. So it can be red and blue to represent the alchemical, fire and water. Usually it's white and black, and that could be light and dark, or the very popular images of the yin and yang kind of forces. During the Sabbats, I've got different colored candles on the altar. They are usually the expansion one. The energetic force will be a candle representing the sun, and its counterpart will be one representing the earth. So it'll be a sun at a particular stage during the year, and like yellow, very mellow yellow for Ostara, and then a light green for the earth, just coming into bloom at that time, versus light yellow and brown during Lunasa, because it's just a different time of the year. The only two times of the year that's different is Imbolc and Samhain, where they are at Imbolc both candles are white, because you've got girl and boy. They're both, too young for too much differentiation in that sense, but you're switching over to a different concept here, where it is, the new life, provided with milk to sustain a new crop of children, and the cold, killing cold of the coldest month of the year. So you've got, the color of the snow and the color of the milk represented on the altar there. So it's the same color, different concepts, still life and death. You're comparing them to one another, and it's and you've got, that duality going. It's how it's two black candles. One represents, the tomb of death, and the other one represents the fertile black soil left over after the harvest is brought in. It'll be dormant during the winter, but it's where new life will be growing again in the spring. So again, one is death, one is the potential for life, and it's the contrast of the two. So yeah, it's that division, those kind of general abstractions that I focus on when I perceive the universe. The universal dualities there. I don't generally tend to view them as individual deities. The Wheel of the Year, I think, is a very useful tool. The stage at which the god and goddess can be at any time of the year is a great tool for self-reflection, and basically setting up a theme for that particular holiday, which is great for community purposes, but as far as personal reflection, it's just not that important. My shrine is something else entirely, but an entirely different practice, goes on with that. My altar is a product of being, self-taught from the Wicca 101 books available at Barnes & Noble's, but I have not applied that necessarily to a actual use of the god and goddess as far as like Wicca is concerned at my altar, but I do gather a lot of benefit from having a shrine to particular divinities, whether they're real or archetypes or figments of my imagination or representative of other forces or whatever. It's not really something I'm going to get into, or I'm going to beat myself up for a solid answer, because I don't think we're going to get one. But they are represented, but separately from the right and left portions of my altar. Anyway, so I wanted to just share the 2 cents on God imagery, and wish you all a happy Imbolc. It is extremely clear and bright today. There's some clouds, but it's going to be a good day, I think. So enjoy the rest of your week. Cheers, everyone.